Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Show here, and now, before we do begin, let's give a brief little review. In the last part, we had a number of things happen. A number of heroes have turned into paradoxes, which means a number of things. Deku, he is one of the heroes who remained from the beginning of time. Essentially, let me tell you guys what happened. This was a flashpoint, but on a bigger scale. Certain heroes, they were out of time, which means they weren't affected. However, whenever the universe was reset, they were thrown back inside the universe where the flashpoint began. Now, that means a number of things. It basically means that they are not tied to this Earth's history, but there are versions of themselves they're taking the place of. If that makes it any clearer and easier to follow. Now, that's the best way for me to explain it, and I'll leave it there. Anyways, with that being said, we currently had Deku. Deku was learning about quite a bit. 1 month has already passed on this earth, and Deku, he woke up from being passed out in space. He was by a red sun and he came back home. He discovered that Kara was still in a coma, after he tried to heal her with the Lazarus Pit. Right now, though, her heart is still beating. She is still alive, and his family, they were safe as well from the reset. A Vol still exists. That's good. So does Voss. But the other Kryptonians no longer exist. And Deku, he also learned something very, very interesting. Of the 7 women he slept with, 6 are pregnant. And that does say quite a bit. Deku, he was full of rage. He was still mad and angry. He was angry at himself. And he asked Raven whenever she approached him with the offer of Trigon's power to send him to that dimension. Send him there so he can fight. And right now, we have about 5 months later. The heroes have still been trying to figure out the crisis. Their worlds, all this time, it's been challenging, difficult, and it hasn't been easy for them. But it's also been challenging. Voss, the daughter of Duvil Zod, she has taken on the mantle of Supergirl. The version of her who existed here had quite an interesting life. She was actually born, as weird as that is, to... no, she wasn't... Maybe... No, maybe she is still a clone, or... Okay, she's so confused. That being what you just think. Her currently sitting on a rooftop and eating a sandwich. As she does go look down. Her going to see somebody. And right now, there is where somebody does come flying up. As they do a turn and go to see Voss. Voss turning her head and making direct eye contact with Cass. Cass gonna ask her if she knows where her dad is, because she's been trying to talk to him, but he sort of vanished. I don't know. Cass, I don't really want to talk to you. I'm still mad at you and my dad. Yeah, um, maybe we should talk about that. Cass gonna fly up and gonna sit down. Her gonna tell Kara. Okay, oh god, she didn't know what to say here. Hmm. Stumped? A little bit, because I don't really know how to talk to you about any of this, because you're... Oh gosh. Um, you're 14? No. Oh. Technically I'm 3? How does that work? I don't know. But I'm physically, I think, 15. At least that's how I look. Why? Okay, okay. Skipping over a lot of that. Everybody makes mistakes, Voss. Your dad's not perfect, and honestly, he was under the effect of red kryptonite. And all of us were sort of in a strange spot. What do you mean? Um, this is complicated to explain. Me and your dad had unresolved issues. We tried talking it out once before, and it just felt more awkward. And then your dad comes to me one day, and the way he's talking and acting, I just, I acted on my emotions, and I probably shouldn't have. I thought Kara was going to kill me, and apparently she didn't. Um, I sort of don't want to hear the rest of that story. I'm not going to tell you the rest of it. But I will tell you this. Your father isn't at fault. You killed the elite, remember? Um, Technically they're still alive. Come on, Voss. You remember killing them. I do. But I just, I don't understand it. I'm, I'm gonna have more siblings. And my dad just runs off. I can be mad at that. Voss, your dad's still growing up. He had a very, very unnatural upbringing. I know, but I just. He's supposed to be. He's supposed to be what? He's supposed to be. I don't know. I look up to him, but he's always so difficult. Voss, your father has a hard time expressing how he loves people. You'll know he loves you with action, not words. Sure. Whenever I dated your father, do you know what he did? Hmm? Whenever he thought Wally West died, his best friend, do you know what he did? Your father cried. Your father, he was hurt. He cried? Yeah, he did. I remember your father thinking irrationally. We once rode a train for 3 weeks. It was so uncomfortable, and sleeping on one is so weird, but your father found comfort in it, Voss. So, what then? Just supposed to ride the rails and give up this? No, Voss. Your father took time to himself to figure it out. What did you do after you came back? Did you just put on a cape and go fly out? Voss, your father's a soldier and he's crumbling. You're not a soldier. You literally had to save an entire planet from being wiped out from existence. I'd say that warrants at least a week off. I don't know, but do you know where my dad's at? No, but I think Raven does. I've asked her before, and she's been evasive. I think she's an Azrath, though, so she may not be able to return my calls. What's Azarath? That's complicated. It's a separate dimension where the witches who raised her live. Huh? Yeah, her dad was basically Satan. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Are you saying that my little brother might have Satan as a grandpa? Technically, yes. What the fuck? You see, boss, that's what I'm talking about. Just the fact that you said that alone sounds crazy, right? It does? So take time off. I can give you this. This being where Cass is going to pull it out. She pulls out a lead box and goes to tell her. Her father had this back in high school. Her going to open it up to reveal a blue kryptonite bracelet. as Cass is trying to inform her. Put that on, and she's essentially a human. She can walk around, feel hungry, go to bed and get tired. She doesn't absorb solar radiation, and this does not harm her. She will be essentially human. Wear it and be normal. Put it back in the box, and she's Kryptonian again. Full powers and everything. They just come back very slowly. Is she willing to at least give it a try? That being where Cass does a watch Voss's face. Voss is definitely intrigued, but she has to save people. That being where Kara is going to show up. Her is going to fly down, expressing to Voss. She's fairly certain that Clark can handle that. And right now, Cass is going to look up towards Kara, her staring at her. As their ears are going to land, and they're trying to tell Voss. She does have a point. Take time off, and Clark will handle it. Him and Jonathan. And that's where we do actually have over with Clark. Clark has been given a second chance. His paradoxical existence here has done him good. Here there was no regime. Here there was no death of Lois. The Joker, he was still running around, but he took care of that real quick. And then there's the fact that he's got a son. This being where Clark, he doesn't float there. I'm going to toss the ball back to Jonathan. And Jonathan's going to bring up his hand and catch it out of the air before we're going to toss it back to his dad. And talk about how he's sort of excited for whenever he does to at least get his powers. And Clark would try to tell his son. He's going to have to be careful with them, and he's going to have to remember. Everything's an egg. That being where Clark is going to toss the ball a little bit harder. And John is going to catch it before he's going to turn back to his dad. Going to throw the ball a little bit harder as well. And Clark actually is going to bring up his hand. Him going to bring it up to catch the ball. However, there is where the ball does go smashing to the mitt and breaking the leather on the inside. Clark going to pull back his hand and go to drop the ball. If we're going to turn it and look at that. Huh. He's getting his powers already. And Clark, he does go to turn back to John, expressing as he's going to toss the ball. John really needs to be a bit more careful. Clark tossing it over, as he's going to tell John. He's going to go out on patrol, and he should be here whenever he shows back up home. He doesn't want him out there just yet. He'll take him out there whenever things are back and in proper order. And John isn't going to smile and tell his dad. He's got it. He's going to help out Grandpa and Grandma. And Clark just won't smile. His life here's better. But he's missing years from John's life. That's his son, but older? No. John was affected by the timeline. Technically, he is his father, but he's not this version of that boy's father. But does that really matter? That's his son. Him and Lois are happily married, and she's still alive. He works at the Daily Star. I mean, it's just that simple. And Voss, yeah. She actually does come flying down. Her gonna open the box and pull up the bracelet. As Clark, he doesn't at least turn his head and look over at Cass, or not Cass, Voss, seeing her staying there in the driveway to the farm. As Cass is going to put on the bracelet, and then going to close the box. Her going to walk up to the house. As Clark, he does going to at least walk that way. Him going to greet everybody inside, as everyone, they do just want to sit down for dinner. And Voss is still trying to get a bit more used to it. She remembers not being able to hear the people outside. She actually started getting tired. Oh, boy. Maybe she'll have a nap. And maybe things will be okay. That being what she does think. And there is where Clark, he does get to talk to Voss the next day. And Voss, she's a bit more intrigued. She is up for an adventure. She's up for a lot of things. And there is actually Raven. Raven, she got talked to by Corey. Corey was concerned about where Duville was. And then there's actually Nightwing, who is still kind of pissed off that his girlfriend, all of a sudden one day to him, was pregnant. And that was alarming. Now, Grayson wants to talk to Duville. However, apparently from this alternate timeline that the other heroes are talking about, a lot of shit happened. A lot of crazy shit, apparently. The guy got Wonder Woman pregnant. What the fuck happened in that timeline? That being on Nightwing's mind. As he does not go to get the, well, stiffness in his neck out of it by popping it. Now, with all that, we do actually have over with the Titans. The Titans, they're trying to figure out where Duville is. And Raven, she tried to cover for him. She tried to tell them that Deku was spending time on Azarath. He wanted to hide away and try and figure things out. Try and clear his mind. He wanted to meditate. And whenever people started to hear Raven at least try and give that excuse all the time, he's on Azarath, he's busy. Yeah, that didn't really cut it. And right now, everybody, they do sit around a table. As Raven is going to stand up and tell everybody. She hasn't exactly been entirely truthful with all of them. Duville, technically he is on the plane of Azarath, but he's also on the plane of Trigon. And a lot of people do somewhat stare at Raven. What? And there is where Raven is trying to express to them. Her father Trigon, he died. And a lot of people at the table, they sit there shocked. What happened in that other universe? Trigon is a cosmic entity, right? I mean, how was he taken down? That being where Raven does get a reveal. It was Mr. Mxyzptlk. The two had a battle that almost destroyed the Earth. And that was about almost 4 years ago to her. Almost 4.5 now. But that is for another time. And everybody, they're still somewhat confused. However, Raven, she has to tell all of them. As she'll sit there, she is going to open the portal. Her going to stand up. And she wants Superboy and at least Voss to try and go in there. Those two are the only ones strong enough and capable enough right now to fly into this portal and handle everything on the other side. And Voss, she's actually not here. And there actually is Cass, Starfire, and Artemis. The two are kind of surprised and annoyed. Why the hell has she been hiding this from them? Their Duville is on a planet full of magical demons, and he might actually die or be overwhelmed by an endless army of them. Did Raven really think this through? That being on their minds. However, whenever Raven is going to open the portal, everybody, they were somewhat ready. However, there was nothing. And Raven, she felt a strange presence from it. Her going to step forwards. Before she does, going to step around to the other side and look around. And it's... oh my god. This being where everybody, they do something going to step through. And Raven, she does see it. There are endless piles. There's so many. As far as they can see. Jesus. This being where Beast Boy does someone going to comment. So, is Duville still on their side? Because she said an endless army, but he doesn't hear anything. I'm going to turn his ear into another animal's. Before we're going to at least listen and express. Yeah, he doesn't hear anything for miles. This place is dead. And Raven, She'll try to think. This may have been a bad idea. Definitely, maybe a bad idea. And we do actually cut to Deku. He is on the other side of this planet, and he currently does stand there in his armor. Him with his facial hair poking out from under the helmet, as his eyes they glow red with power. And Deku, he does gonna stand there on the pile. Him going to bring his hand back and stab the next demon he has in his arm. Before he does go to peck the demon up and then go to look them in the eye. Before Deku's gonna blast them in their face and then gonna drop them. Before he does gonna look back around. And he stands on the tallest mountain. The tallest pile there is. All around him, hundreds, nay, hundreds of thousands of demons. They all fell. They wanted to fight him. They all saw him as a challenge. He is the biggest and strongest guy in the yard. That's what many of them thought. Deku somewhat feeling a bit of a laughter come on. He does so get a smile. He feels great. Here he can kill. Here he can fight. Here he can do whatever he wants. There are no consequences. He smashes a planet? Sure. He'll just go to another one. This universe is full of them. Full of people who are trying to do evil. He won't allow it to exist. He thinks back to the monitor, and Deku does feel his rage just build up more. And we do actually have where somebody, they do come flying up. As we do have where someone also come running up and going to stop. As they do going to look towards the mountain. And it's huge. As Deku is going to turn, him going to fly forwards and go to sit there in the air. As Wally West does stare up towards his friend. And Deku, he does look to lower himself down. Before going to have his armor turn back into a gauntlet on his hand. And Wally does stare at him. He's practically a gladiator. That's all he is. The helmet, the armor, and the blood covering his body. He doesn't have a scratch on him. How long has he been here? That being on Wally's mind. As Deku, he does going to disappear from Wally's sight. And Wally, he does stare on surprised. Before he does at least hear somebody behind him. Him going to turn around as fast as he can. And Deku, he does going to bring up his hand. Him going to smack away Wally West casually. And Wally is sent flying. He was struck hard. And after he does go flying through the air, he is going to activate his mind at super speed. He's trying to think about what to do. Him going to look directly up and see Deku, who he's already reappeared somewhere else. Deku going to catch Wally in the air, holding him up by his leg before beginning to squeeze down onto it. And Wally just trying to shout out the name, Duvel! And Deku just going to stare back down towards Wally. As somebody, they do come flying up. And they do going to bring out their hand. And begin casting a spell. As Raven, she's going to wrap something up and around the helmet. Her going to pull it up and off of Deku's head. And Deku does go staring down at Wally with anger before the helmet was pulled off. And Deku, he does still stare down at Wally before his mind goes to clear. Him letting go of Wally as he does want to back up and look around. Where am I this time? Deku looking around and seeing the corpses, the blood. He's had this dream before. And there actually is Raven. Just gonna stare at Deku. I should try to ask him if he found it. And Deku is gonna stare up towards Raven. Him realizing exactly how far along she is. And that does tell him quite a bit. He's definitely been slacking off. And Deku just isn't going to look down. Before Raven, she's going to stare down at Deku. Did he find it? Did he find the source of her father's power? Did he take it on? Is he changed or different? And Deku is going to look back up towards Raven, his eyes flashing fully red. And she does stare at him a bit more confused. As Deku, he does so going to stand up. Him, so going to slump himself forwards, and then going to get back on his feet fully. He feels a little woozy. Yeah, okay. He may have worn that helmet for a little too long that time. Deku just thinking. He feels calm, but all of his friends, some of them, the way they knew him before, he was still a terrifying guy. But now all of a sudden he went from being this guy they knew to being this fucking monster who just piled billions, literal billions, on a planet. And Deku? He does actually don't sit there in Azarath. He's still trying to think about what he did. He doesn't regret it. But his rage. He doesn't feel calm, but he doesn't feel angry. He doesn't know what it means. He's gone numb. But he still tries to carry hope. This universe still does remain. He called the Monitor. But what does that mean? What does that really mean? Will he just vanish in obscurity? Will life go back to normal? Will Kara wake up and will this world be safe? Will the multiverse be safe? That is the current question. That is the trouble people are having. No one is for sure, any way at all, if this multiverse is still safe. The Monitor might still be hiding somewhere. He might still be alive. But no one's sure. And Deku, he does still stare up at Azarath. As Raven, she doesn't want to sit there. Her, behind Deku, as she should ask him if he came here to think. I did. It's a lovely place. Thank you. I often came up here whenever I was a child. I think of the place often. I watched the city burn. I'm sorry. You watched a planet burn. I didn't. That was Kara. You know what I mean. You know everything about your people. Yet, you're all that remains. What about Kandor? I don't know. I never tried searching for that planet again. I like to imagine it's still there. If I go to that planet and it's not, something's gonna happen. And I'm not gonna be able to be held liable. Raven. Do you understand? I do, but would you like to meditate? They go turning back to Raven, and there actually is where he does go to stare at her, his eyes flashing red. And Raven does go to someone back away. Her actually taking a step back, where Deku, his eyes, they doubled. He had a set of 2. And his skin flashed red in his face. And Raven, she was a bit more surprised by that. And Deku, he went to go look back, away from her. He knows what happened. He knows what he's done. He's beginning to change. And he's not sure what he'll turn into. This power feels magnificent. He feels great. I'm going to turn and look around. As he does get to see Azarath destroyed. I'm going to bring his hand out. And he does try to think. He could repair this entire plane. He could manipulate this entire dimension. He can almost feel it on his hands. He can almost feel it, almost as if he's pulling on strings. And something is wrong. As there actually is where he does go to turn. And Raven, she's gone, and he's in Azrath alone. Where? No, you're not in Azrath. Deku hearing a voice. Before he does get a turn and stare on a bit more confused, his eyes widening as he does see a version of himself sitting in a chair. Hi, you go by Duville, right? You're me. Hi. I I don't have a counterpart, especially one that's you. What are you? That's complicated. See, I would tell you that you're gonna stand up and gonna step forwards. But his universe, it fell into the dark. One of the many that fell during the crisis. He does have to say, he got lucky. He fell out of existence. And whenever he got back in, he used his power to recreate his world. That is what he did. But then there's also what he did. What did I do? You found it. Found what? You've obtained powers. Better than normal powers. You know our basic ones. You know Superman's power set. You're the most familiar with it. You're not? I've gotten familiar with it. With time. Who are you? I'm you. Just born human. That being where Duville, he's a bit more surprised. And he does want to know, where is his Kara? I'm sorry. Listen, this will all be a bad dream. You won't remember it. But your fate. I'm sorry. You've definitely done good. But I'm not too sure if you know what you've done. Know what I've done? It'll happen. And I'm not sure what you'll do. What I'll do? Yes, what you'll do. I'm tempted to stop you, but even the chair does have questions. Deku, surprised, turning to look at the chair. It has questions. What's special about it? It can answer any question, and it wants to talk to me. Yes. Will you sit? No. Alright then. I was hoping to talk to you more in depth, possibly learn of you. But I don't believe that you're fit to encounter the rest of us yet. The rest of you? It's hard to explain. Trust me. There's one person dying to meet you, though. I'm sure he'll have a lot of fun meeting you. You do have a lot of like. How so? Technically, you shouldn't exist. Deku is going to jump up awake. Him confused. And he does want to look around. Where is he? Okay. I'm going to sit up. He's still outside. Still looking up towards the stars. And there actually is where he does going to feel somebody grab at his arm. Him going to turn his head and see Raven. Her's not holding onto his arm. As she does just lay there asleep. And Deku, he does get to lay back down. He tries to get comfortable. He's gonna need to figure this out. All out. That dream, though, was weird. But he felt something in his powers. Azarath. Deku gonna sit up and stand. He wants to discover what this is. He wants to figure this out. And we do actually have the next morning. Raven does gonna wake up. And whenever she does go look around and see that the place looks different. The sky. Her still gonna throw herself into the railing. Her trying to be careful, since she does have her stomach to worry about. And she has to at least look around. Going to look down. Destroyed buildings. This is no way. And there actually is where she's going to take flight. Her thinking that this might be Duville's doing, or some sort of spell, or reality changing again. But no, it's been put back to its prime. Her looking around. The only thing missing is the people. I mean, that's what it looks like. Her confused. As Deku, he currently does stand there holding out his hand. And then there is where he does going to turn something into another material. I'm going to stare at it as he does go to bring his hand up and twist his hand again. And then there is where it does go to shift and change. And Raven, she does go to stare. And Deku does go to turn and sense her. Him going to look towards her and ask if she likes what he's done with the place. You brought it back. I did. If I'm staying here for a while, it's gonna be good. But my abilities, something feels different about me. You found my father's power. I did. Your father was evil incarnate. And the best way of saying it wasn't hard to track down. But you're going to turn into him. No, I'm not. I've had these powers for a good amount of time. It's hard to say. The days just turned red and mixed together. So what are you gonna do? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I feel like this is wrong. Deku's doing it in his hands and thinking. He has acquired more power. But why? Never been challenged. No one to oppose him. It's been difficult. And there is right now. Somebody does come walking up to a door. And them knocking on it, as Superboy, he does get to answer it. Him gonna look up and see himself. As Superboy Prime, he does stand there. And he just challenged Superboy to a fight for the mantle. Because he hasn't been being a superhero. He hasn't been the hero the city needs. He has been slacking on his priorities, and he has not done it justice. He has not earned that mantle. And until he does, he shouldn't wear it. Now, Superboy does try to at least defend himself. And yeah, he sends out a distress call. And Raven, she was exploring Azarath. She was re-exploring her home. And Deku, he sat there somewhat trying to meditate, trying to calm himself down. The way his mind does feel, he feels cloudy. No, overwhelmed? That doesn't do this justice. His mind feels like a storm, but he's sane. No, that's not the right word. He's enlightened? That doesn't feel right either. He can function. He can do that. That's the right word. To go a bit more surprised. And there is where Raven, she's going to hear the distress call. And Corey and the other members of the Titans, they try to gather together. They need to come to his aid. Because Superboy, he is in a lot of trouble. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.